You are listening to Fantha tracks.
Rolling. Don't use any of this. Don't.
Okay, carry 3.
They love you. You know.
This is Princess Leia Organa. You're listening to Planet Leia.
Permission is granted to land on Planet Leia. Brought to you by Fantha Tracks. Here are your hosts, Claire Henry and Johanna Nybelius.
Welcome to our latest episode of Planet Leia. My name's Claire Henry and I'm joined by my co-host
Johanna Lindén Nybelius from Sweden, where it's already totally dark.
And what time did it get dark at?
The sun goes totally down now. I'm guessing around 4:30 or something.
Good grief.
When we're recording now, it's totally dark and it's soon 5 o'clock.
Any sign of snow yet?
No, I mean, this autumn has really been way too warm. This has been like the last few days have been the first days when it's at least been cold in the night, so we've had frost. So I'm hoping that now that it will be cold for some days, so it gets really cold before we get any snow. So yeah, it's been definitely a too warm autumn.
Because in another life away from Star Wars, you do ski jumping judging or something, don't you?
Yes, I do. Well, judging and, well, basically managing competitions, yes. And we do have a big we have actually had the World Cup in ski jumping in next week here in Falun, but I'm not involved in that competition there. So I'm actually going to be there as a media representative, filming, asking questions and doing things like that.
Oh,
I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, but I do have my accreditation there to get access as media.
Oh, well, tell you what, it'll be a spectacle, won't it?
Definitely. It's going to be so much. World Cup.
And it's all the cowbells and everything. Will that all be on and stuff that you see in the ski programs?
To be honest, I'm not expecting that much of an audience here in Falun. And the main competitions, the men's, are in the middle of the week. So Wednesday afternoon, Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon. So I'm not expecting large crowds this early in the season. Next season, we do have the World Championships here. So this is a tryout for the competitors to try the facilities and everything. Then they will have cowbells and everything, but that's next season.
That's next season. And how are you today?
I'm slightly tired. I might have been to a party yesterday. But
are you really alcohol-induced fatigued by any chance?
Or maybe it was the dance and being out, coming home around 2 a.m., things like that. I'm not 20 anymore. I was in another town, so I had to drive 2 hours back today.
This could lead for a very interesting episode then, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. But it was really nice, thinking about what we're going to talk about. It was not one of my oldest, but a really old Star Wars friend who had a birthday party. So a person I've gotten to know, and there were, of course, other people, and not just people like from the Legions. When you've been in the Star Wars community for such a long time, it's really nice to also sit down, have a talk, have fun with friends, and actually not talk that much Star Wars, but other things, getting to know each other. There were some there who I've not seen those aspects because we've met at celebrations, at conventions, and then you're so much into it. And now we just sat down, started with sitting down, then we danced and we had fun.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, this time last week, I was it's a holiday camp across England called Butlins. Ooh. And it was a DJ called Fatboy Slim. Ooh. And on the Saturday night, it's fancy dress. We dressed up as what Fatboy Slim named my group of friends and I, beautiful lunatics. And we were all like crazy, mad and all the rest of it. And we were in hospital gowns. But we got little, the hospital wristbands. I'm showing you mine. Yeah. Nobody else can see it. But we had a hospital wristband. And we wrote on it lunatics or mad people or crazy people on it and give them like a patient number, and we had 100 of them and we were giving them out. So of course I decided to do some Star Wars themed ones, obviously. The Emperor, lunatic, Carrie Fisher, really sorry, but yes, Carrie Fisher, bless her, love her. So I had specific wristbands that I was looking out for Star Wars, people dressed in Star Wars. So there's a group of people, because Fatboy Slim's name is Norman, and there's a group of them called Norm Troopers. And they dress up as stormtroopers, but they have the name Norm Troopers over the back. So obviously one of them was bequeathed a beautiful lunatic Star Wars themed one. And then, as you say, meeting people through Star Wars is really bizarre, isn't it? So then there was another couple that I met, and I wish I remembered their names, but I don't. I was also might have been a little bit like you last Saturday, a little bit, might have had way too much to drink. But anyway, I met this couple, and the reason why I met them, or I saw them, was that the partner, he had black diamantes over Darth Vader helmet.
Oh, yeah.
Fabulous. And then his partner was dressed up as a stormtrooper, a sexy stormtrooper, because the theme is sexy or stupid. And she had the most fantastic Star Wars stormtrooper sunglasses, which I've seen somewhere before on sale somewhere. And you know what? We stood and talked Star Wars for, I don't know, 30 minutes. Obviously, I don't really remember much, but I know it was that. And then they followed us on Fantha tracks and all, because guess this, there are people in this planet do not know about Fantha tracks.
But we hope they're listening to this now.
So that's what I said. Yes. So that's what I said. So I said I would give her a shout out in the next podcast, because obviously it was a female centric one. But I really wish I could remember your name. But I will post the photograph on my Instagram and tag Fantha Tracks and all back to mine head in it. So yeah, so big shout out to you guys. Your costumes were great. And I bequeathed her the Carrie Fisher Beautiful Lunatics wristband.
If they had diamantes on, then he didn't need any more glitter.
Exactly. Diamantes are the best.
Hi, this is Ashley Eckstein, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
And then on the Sunday, it's called Shit Shirt Sunday. Okay, so you have to wear, like, Fatboy Slim is known for wearing like Hawaiian shirts. So I may have gone and bought myself another Hawaiian style Star Wars shirt, which I wore last week. And it was the one, do you remember the bedding in the 70s, which was like pale blue?
Yes.
Oh, so they had
obviously I didn't have it because I'm not that old as someone. But
yes, I am that woman over 50.
I've seen the images.
I am owning that now, thanks to DJ Sarah Cox. I am not a woman of a certain age or a vintage age. I am a woman over 50, and I am happy to own that right there. So I wore the Star Wars shit shirt. That was an excellent buy. Everybody was commenting on, oh, you're a Star Wars fan. What? A woman of your age being a Star Wars fan? And that leads us quite nicely into what we're talking about today, because you know what? I am 52, and what age are you?
43.
Are and can be Star Wars fans.
Yes. I should say yesterday, the people that I were with were the ones who were in it because we're a Star Wars fan. The majority who knew this person were women. And
yeah,
so I will always say, I remember when I started out in the Star Wars fan community and meeting people and everything, and especially our Swedish group here. And I'm not talking the costuming people, because this was the group I was with way before I started doing costuming. And I remember one of the guys saying, yeah, usually there are more guys, but those of you women who are in it, you make up because your awareness and the knowledge and everything going crazy is so much bigger than ours. And in a way, I think, at least for me, I think that it is correct in a way that when you get into being quite serious Star Wars fans, I've always felt that it's been there have always been a lot of women around. You haven't been surprised to meet other female fans. But I would say before, or if we say in the 20th century, you had more the casual fans were male. The ones that, I like Star Wars. But as soon as you got digging into it, there were really die-hard fans. You have always had a lot of women there.
Yeah, because I am obviously born in the 70s and, was a fan in the 70s. And okay, growing up in Northern Ireland probably wasn't like it was in the rest of the world, obviously, because of all the troubles and things like that. But when the Darth Vader came, I was definitely in the minority. There was me and maybe one other girl, and she got labelled the tomboy. And in school, it was me playing it with my mates and Andrew, but nobody else. The girls were like, yeah. And I don't know why.
Yeah,
Because
and I
I
think
wouldn't necessarily say Star Wars was a film that was geared towards boys in particular, or you know what I mean? It was just a science fiction film.
but I think that's also a huge difference in culture now. I mean, we remember when you didn't like to admit that you were a nerd. That was so bad, and now it's cool to be nerdy. In a way, I think it might even have been worse for a woman that or a girl to say that you were nerdy, because boys in some way you could be the computer geeks, and you had those films about the
Mhm.
nerds turning out to be like
The
cool.
Goonies and all that
Or,
stuff.
yeah, or they make transformation and get the cool girl anyway, but you don't really have these stories about the nerdy girls.
Well, the nerdy girls, in an interesting way, what they did was certainly in the 70s and 80s films, or even Calamity Jane, for example, they were the tomboys, they did this, they did that. And then all of a sudden, they blossomed into this feminine,
Beautiful woman, like
beautiful woman with the
yes.
coiffured hair and all that sort of stuff. And yes, I suppose the way my development over, well, 50 years I've become, I suppose, not more feminine. That's not what I mean. But as my mum said, up until I was 20, I'd sometimes brushed my hair with a dog brush because I was so lazy. I just didn't give a toss. But I didn't ever feel the pressure to become this beautiful, Calamity Jane then turns into a dress and shouts it from the highest hill. Do you know what I mean? And then because you weren't like that, I don't know what it was like for you, but certainly for me, I was bullied quite a lot because of it.
I didn't have a lot of friends. And that's also the thing. I wasn't bullied or anything like that, but it was like you had your classmates in school, you did schoolwork with them, and then I got home and I didn't have anyone to like be with after the school hours. And I was fine with that because I could really enjoy sitting down with a book instead. At that time, I really didn't feel like, now I realized how much socialization I missed during those years because I went home and read books instead. And then I had the sports. I mean, I've always been a sports girl. I competed in sports and you had the teams around you. So in that way, I think that's the reason why I didn't really care about too
Yeah,
much
and I
clothes
mean,
or makeup and other stuff because that wasn't important.
no, Star Wars was important.
Yeah.
Hanging around with Andrew, Mark, and Matthew, and Ian, and primary school was important to me.
Yeah.
And so, from a perspective from then, it wasn't really a female perspective. It was just living my best life
Yeah.
with my friends and my choices and my sort of things. And it was quite interesting because then with the development of then the new trilogy coming out, the prequels coming out and stuff, then Star Wars became a little bit cooler, didn't it? Because the actresses in it were famous for being quite feminine or something.
Yeah.
There was like a feminine tilt to it or something like that.
And I would say, like, the first person that I got to know and who I discovered, like, wow, you can talk Star Wars with someone was another woman. We were in our end teenage years, and then of course you have this fact that you had the internet. And as soon as I got online and started talking with other fans, first of all you had these usernames where you didn't really care who it was that you were talking to. But then quite soon I realized you had a lot of women around. So for me, it's not been like I've been the only woman. I've always been surrounded by other female fans.
Yeah.
And I will say definitely that when it comes to the prequels, I've been mentioning it before that I joined the group called the Royal Handmaiden Society, because of course that was women. We were interested in the handmaidens and we talked and everything. So for me, I've always had other fans around me, but it was definitely something, you contacted your friends, you were online. I definitely remember in 2005, before Revenge of the Sith, when I went to the US for the first time for Celebration 3. And we went on a shopping spree the first day, a group of 4 girls in their late teens, early 20s, going on a shopping spree, basically buying everything we went to. I mean, Walmart, Target, the big box stores, and we're like, there are so many Star Wars things. But you didn't find anything geared towards women in when it comes to clothing or anything like that. So I remember us going into the children's ward. I mean, we could all buy boys' shirts and we took them home because they were nice and tight and good. But at that time, you didn't have any items that was geared towards a female body. In one way, I felt like with the prequels, they started to realize that there were female fans, especially around episode 1. I mean, they really went out quite hard with merchandise around Queen Amidala. We've been talking about that. Makeup, the 12-inch dolls in that series and everything. But then it was like, since they oversaturated the market in episode 1, they didn't do quite as much of it for the other prequels. It was like, yeah, okay, we know there are women, we know there are female fans, but we don't really know what they want. That was like my impression.
And it was the fact that that sort of marketing hadn't really geared themselves up to that.
For everything in one location, daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video and social media feeds, bookmark fanthatracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
I mean, it's quite interesting for me because I was trying to think, when did I sort of become aware of that female bit? Yours was definitely, and you've talked about definitely tonight and previously about the Handmaidens group. But for me, actually, it's quite funny. I moved to England. I went to Celebration London, and it was like, wow. The first Celebration London one at the XL, I went with Andrew, and there was her universe was there and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, I've not seen this before. And then I went to London Film Comic Con, and there was things like that because there was nothing like that in Northern Ireland at all. And there was lots of girls, and we just got chatting and et cetera, and all that sort of stuff. And then I just went to them either on my own or with Andrew or whatever, and I looked forward to buying sort of the clothes, etc. But actually for me, it really wasn't until I wasn't very well. I was quite unwell. I think it was about 2015. I really wasn't very well, and I had to take some time out from work. I had an operation and it all went a bit peak-tong. And so I started listening to podcasts, and I literally typed in Star Wars podcasts. And I started listening to a podcast called Coffee with Kenobi and another podcast called Fangirls Going Rogue. And it was those two podcasts made me think, do you know what? I just was listening to them like we talk now about that female point of view and a bit like us chat about what we were doing and what our weekends have been like and what we've been catching up on and stuff like that. But then it always got down to talking about things to do with Star Wars. They had themes and all the rest of it. And it was at that point I realised, okay, this is a bigger thing than I've ever really thought about or looked into. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it was like, there are girls like me who like it. Then I went to Celebration in Florida where it was the anniversary of A New Hope and met all the girls from the podcast, chatting to them. And it was like, oh, this is quite revolutionary. Girls like Star Wars, and they had their stickers and they were promoting themselves, and it was great. And then from that, I got a gig with them. That was the opening of Pozu Boots 2017. Obviously, they couldn't go because they were in America. And I went, and that's how I met the guys from Fantha Tracks. And it's all just spiraled from there. So it's like 2017. So what's that? 7 years ago now. Yeah. And that's when actually my journey of a female podcaster, Star Wars fan, whatever, became sort of aware of things.
If we go back, and I think this also has to do with the fact that 20 years ago, it wasn't cool being a nerd, because I do remember, once again, that first trip to Celebration 3 in 2005, because we've had local conventions here, very small, more like flea markets with some guests, but you went to them because that was what you had, and it was cool that it was a Star Wars guest. And that time in those small conventions, was young men. I mean, it was so totally dominated. And then you had my group of friends where we were like, the women were crazier than the boys or the men. And then I remember going to Celebration 3, and all of us were like, here you have the whole family. There are so many women out there as fans.
Yeah.
And it was definitely different in the US compared to what it was like here, because it was Star Wars was, I think that is quite a huge difference from especially Europe and the US, because Star Wars has always been much more mainstream in the US. Here it was for the nerds.
Yeah.
You could like the film, but basically if you were anything else, it was for the nerds, and it was a very niche thing. Even if it was a very big niche thing, it was not something that normal people admitted to liking.
I don't know whether this is the same as you, but I still get people coming up to me, going, oh, I believe you're a Star Wars fan. Oh, I believe you're this. And they're saying, I've never watched it. And that's in England. You know what I mean? I think it's quite a British thing. But if you were to say that, you would struggle, I think, in America to see somebody who hasn't seen Star Wars. It seems to have been sort of ingrained in their,
And that's why you find so many, reference to it in other films and TV shows and everything, because it is so ingrained. And it wasn't like that here.
Yeah.
It was really something, since I wasn't part of that myself, since I wasn't when the original films were released, but I do remember people talking about, like, yes, you went and saw them on other women, people I've known who were like of the age that they could actually go and see them when they were originally released. And yes, you went there and you saw the films, and that was it. You liked the films. But at that time, there wasn't really a fan community. It wasn't there. You went back to your regular life, and yes, it was a good film, and then you moved on. And then many of them have realized, but we thought it was so good. And definitely that you have with people who are older than me and are into costuming and cosplay, and some are and some are not members of the 501st Legions or so. They're like, yes, and then we grew up, we got older, we got more money, and then you started to realize, I can dress up as this.
Yeah, I would love to do it, but I've just never got round to it.
No, it's a hobby.
And an expensive one. What costume
it's definitely an expensive one.
What costume are you on at the minute?
Well, at the moment, I have a deadline for writing an article, a work-related thing. And for that reason, I set myself that I have moratorium. I'm not allowed to make any new sewing projects. For the last month, instead, I've been learning how to make nets with a Bronze Age technique. I've done quite a few nets, and I'm starting to get good at it. But it's like you were supposed to write instead of working with yarn, but it's not fabric. What I do have is in costuming projects, it's Mon Mothma from Endor.
Excellent.
Her big speech, that costume. And I've said that next year I will totally focus on it. It's going to be a really expensive. I've been costuming for such a long time. I can quite easily bring together a costume that's not too complicated. I know where I can buy stuff. I know but they are maybe not always a challenge to do. And I felt like I missed doing proper challenge. And I feel like this costume is going to be a huge challenge with sourcing the material. It's going to be expensive because the way I've sourced material now, I'm talking about for her coat, I need to do the pattern for the coat. And I'm guessing I will need at least 5 or 6 meters. But now I've found a fabric that will cost somewhere around $65, $70 a meter. So it will be expensive. It will be complicated. And I will need to learn some new skills as well. For example, I will need to style. My hair is long now. I will need to have a wig. It's a wavy bob, and I will need to style it somehow. And I've never done any. I've had long wigs that I can do with easy ponytails and stuff like that, or Leia buns. But now I will actually need to style a wig. So I've set off that I'm going to let this costume take a lot of time because it's going to be expensive, and it will be my focus next year. And then probably a few nets, Bronze Age technique.
Hi, this is Julie Dolan, the voice of Princess Leia, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks. It's your only hope.
And then it'll be 2027 is Celebration.
Yes, but I'm not going to go to that celebration. No, I'm sorry about that. Yes, I've already decided I'm not going to go there.
A reason behind it being?
There are definitely political reasons. I don't want to go to the US with the current state of what's going on there. And it would be expensive, of course, for me and my husband, but I could have started to save up money. But I decided that no, it's not worth doing that. And I feel at the moment, I don't want to go to the US. It's simple as that.
We haven't decided yet either, but that's also to do with the fact that our daughter is about to start university that year, 2027. And that over in England is expensive. And I mean ridiculously expensive. So it may or may not. We haven't made our minds up yet, but I know that Andrew and I are planning it, but we're also planning Glastonbury. So, you know,
yeah. And it's also the fact that if I wanted to go, you would need to start saving up. I would have needed to start saving up already.
Oh, yeah. It's expensive to get to Los Angeles, isn't it?
Yes. And it's expensive with the hotels, and everything with celebration has gotten so much more expensive. And all the stress about even getting tickets. I remember when you started going there, and it was like Celebration 4, which was in 2007. So it was the 30th anniversary. You could actually buy tickets the same day. I had a friend who went over who hadn't bought tickets beforehand. And then it was like, yes, you need to buy tickets before they do run out. But now you have this one, you have to sit there and you have to have luck.
Yeah.
I mean,
for
the last celebration in London, I had to buy single day tickets to even get there. I couldn't get 4-day tickets, even if I was there clicking. And there were two of us doing a team. So all that stress. And then you feel like, it's expensive, and I don't want to go there. Like, it all adds up.
It's like buying any concert tickets these days. Now you get stuck in a waiting room, and apparently it's random. I'm not so sure, because it always seems to be the same people get the Jedi Night passes. Work that one out, go figure. So we haven't decided yet as such. Not sure, but it would be great to go if we could. But we're also undecided is how I'm going to put it. But depending on when the tickets go on sale, I think I might buy the tickets and then decide. I had tickets for Anaheim and I sold them. I went through the tickets.
Yeah, me too. I also had tickets, and then I got married and realized, I have to put my money on that instead.
A little bit more expensive, I would think, in that way. Until next time, people.
Email radio@fanthatracks.com. Head to links at fanthatracks.com for links to our social media feeds, Fantha Tracks TV and Fantha Tracks Radio. Thanks to James Sample for the Fantha Tracks intro and our Planet Leia opening music, and Mark Daniel and Vanessa Marshall for our voiceovers. New episodes arrive on Fridays at 7 p.m. UK time as part of the Friday night rotation, and our weekly video show Good Morning Tatooine goes live Sundays at 9 p.m. UK time on Facebook and YouTube. And remember, Fantha Tracks is absolutely free, so it costs nothing to stay updated on all the latest Star Wars news.
We close off our show saying, we love you.
You know.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's Making Tracks.